Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Nicole Montero with the Center for Healing and Development. And I want to talk about this whole cycle that so many of us get caught up in, which is overthinking. And for the high achievers out there, which is almost everybody in LinkedIn land, right? Often we were taught that overthinking is a good thing, right? It's part of the whole being responsible, having a plan, figuring out things and thinking forward, thinking in the future, so that you can reach your goals. But the problem is, overthinking often becomes a shield or a mask for anxiety and self doubt and other things that end up keeping us paralyzed and not making the progress we want to make, right? And so I always say if you find yourself feeling stuck and you're not quite sure, right? You feel like on paper, everything looks great in terms of mapping out your goals, in terms of, knowing what you want for yourself and putting the pieces together. But for some reason, you're still feeling stuck. I say probably overthinking is a likely culprit. And I'll say that overthinking is very, very sneaky. Ask yourself if you tend to use any of these phrases, right? I have some of them written down. Um, planning, I'm researching, I'm trying to get things in order. I'm trying to make sure things are in their right place. I am trying to be intentional, right? These are all words and phrases that sound pretty good, right? There's nothing negative on the face about them. But what happens is the overthinker uses these nice sounding terms and they end up fueling the avoidance. Because what overthinking does is it keeps us in a state of avoidance of that thing that's uncomfortable. And usually it's taking action on the goals and the plans and all of the things that we have. It's taking action, taking them from the paper and bringing them to life. That's the riskiest part. You with me, right? So when we're still in the thinking stage and the planning stage, hey, that feels great, right? Like we even feel really accomplished. How many of you have so many notebooks of conferences that you've gone to, talks that you've attended, webinars, ideas, business plans, all of these grand things that you've taken part in, and you have a whole catalog of notebooks where you take notes on those things, right? That part feels good because it helps us to feel responsible and like we feel like we're putting things into motion. But too much of that keeps us out of balance because we're not doing the other part of it, which is the riskier part of taking action. So if you have a business idea, writing the business plan isn't necessarily the hard part, although it might feel like it in the beginning, right? You might be having fun doing your research on it and really going through fleshing out your idea, looking at what your niche is, your target audience, all of these things. It might feel hard in the beginning, but at a certain point, it keeps you in a comfort zone because the real risk is putting that to the test. And I want to tell you a little story and some feedback that I actually got. A while ago, I know, are any of you familiar with Echoing Green? It's this really prestigious fellowship where they fund social entrepreneurs. And I had applied 2 years in a row. The first year, I didn't quite make it past the first stage. The second year that I applied, I got really good feedback. And I actually made it, I think, past the second round to the third round, I believe. And my name was listed among those, I wasn't a finalist, but among the semifinalists. I was really excited. But one piece of feedback that I got was that all right, sounds good on paper, but show us where you put some skin in the game. Show us where you took some risk, right? Because my project was about helping to create training for community health workers that would address mental health in developing countries in West Africa, because I've done a lot of international research. They were like, show us where you put some skin in the game. You took some risks. You met with some stakeholders. You got some funding or put your own funding and you put yourself out there. We don't want to just see it on paper because everyone can make something sound great on paper. So that was such a great learning experience for me because it helped me to see how it's not just about what you're thinking and planning and researching. It's about how much belief do you have in the thing as well, but most importantly, in yourself, that you're willing to risk failure, right? That you're willing to risk failure to see if that can and if that thing can work and to see what adjustments and modifications. You'll never know what plan or project how it needs to be modified until you start to put it in and see how it works in real life, right? And so the overthinking mind almost as I always say, anxiety is so tricky because it makes us feel good about avoidance. It tells us we're doing the responsible thing and we're being a great planner and a great we're being intentional and we're being, we're doing the things that we were taught to do in school. But it really doesn't allow us to develop that muscle where we develop the heart and the courage and the willingness to really be uncomfortable, to really be uncomfortable. So my thing is I'm going to tell you three things that you can do to start to get out of that overthinking experience or mindset. One thing is to be aware and notice it. Start to question these terms and these words that you use with yourself. When you start saying, "Oh, I'm doing my research," or "I'm trying to," or "I'm making sure all my ducks are in a row," right? Start looking at the phrases that you use that you start to understand are a way to keep you not taking action. And just be aware of those. Be aware so you can start to question if you really need to do more research or are you ready to kind of take some more risks, right? The second thing you can do is start to identify small actions that you can take that take you out of your comfort zone. For some people, it could be for a while, for me, for a while, it was actually going live and talking on video, right? Because that wasn't necessarily my comfort zone, right? I liked a very introvert being within myself but I realized that so much of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to share my message and things that I had to offer, it would require me to be more front facing. So identify those things that, even if they're small things, that you need to do to actually bridge the gap between the plans you have and actually putting them into action, right? It could be little things. It could be making phone calls, sending emails to people that you need to network with. It could be going out and actually meeting people or making connections on LinkedIn or some other platform, right? Whatever it is that you know your goal is, start to break it down into the smaller actions that would actually help you to put into action, into practice. Okay. The third thing is start to get real friendly with discomfort. Don't run towards comfort. When you feel your heart racing, when you feel yourself questioning whether you're ready or whether this is the time, start to actually run towards those experiences. Run towards, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I'm ready. Run towards, oh my God, I'm kind of nervous about this. Run towards whatever it is that triggers a little bit of discomfort in you so that you can start to build that muscle and be willing, put into your mind is, it's about really changing your mindset that failure is okay and that perfection is actually not the goal, right? Perfection and feeling fueled by stress and anxiety and feeling not good enough, those are no longer the ways we're going to operate, right? And it's really about putting that into your mind and developing the mindset that it's okay to take some risks, feel a little uncomfortable, and know that perfection isn't the goal, and not be so hard on yourself when things don't go exactly as planned, or, even if you quote fail, to not be hard on yourself because you know that that's part of the process. Okay? So those were my tips. I wanted to just share because overthinking, I feel like we're in an epidemic of overthinking and being paralyzed and being stuck because we're chasing perfection and we're allowing ourselves to be tricked into avoidance. And avoidance can look really pretty when it's tied up in the bow of like, oh, we're doing our research, we're planning, we're making sure things are right, right? You have to learn to get more balance so that, of course, we're not saying to ever, I don't advocate like if you're doing something important or you're developing something to just not care, not do any planning. But to be honest, 90% of us stay in planning way, way, way too long, and we allow ourselves to not take action. Okay. So I will see you next time. Make sure you check out the latest blog post, which is why are boundaries, healthy boundaries, so hard to maintain. Okay. So check out that blog post or that latest article in my newsletter. And I will see you next week. Take care. It's Dr. Nicole Montero.